Hey, everybody. Hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today that word is beware. Beware. Now, as I told you yesterday, you can hear my voice getting a little bit worse as the week goes along. But hey, we're here to study the Word of God regardless. And so today, as we get to Exodus 23, I am thankful for the warnings of God. I am thankful that He doesn't just kind of show up and change the rules in the middle of the game. And as we're following through Israel and following through their history, and even as they're just beginning, God is giving them all these things that they need to know for the future. He tells them all the things that He's going to do. And this has started from the time that He gave them the 10 Commandments, and then He begins to give them all the laws, and He begins to give them those other directions. And He starts with, way back in Exodus 20, hey, you can't have any other gods. And you're not going to lift them up, and you're not going to have any other images, and it all follows through to the end, to this portion anyway, to the end of Exodus 23, where we're going to look at today. And it's this idea of, look, I'm going to go before you, but there's going to be some temptations ahead of you. There's going to be some things that you're going to be wondering about and curious about. And I think sometimes even as parents, right, we look to our kids and we say, hey, we know there's things you're going to be tempted to do, and tempted to test the waters and all that. And there's some that would teach, oh, it's okay, just let them test the waters. But that's not what God says. God says, no, I know what's going to happen, and you need to leave those things alone. And I think just as sure as God was telling the Israelites to beware, I think we need to be honest with ourselves and honestly and sincerely look to the Word of God for the warnings He has given us as well. You saw that picture there of a snare, and I mean, it's kind of hidden. And it's kind of the idea, beware of the snare. And that's what we see in verses 32 and 33 today of Exodus 23. He says, you shall make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. And they shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. Now, if you know anything about what's coming in the future chapters in the future of Israel, they will fail to drive out. They will fail to destroy as they have been commanded once they get into the land, and that ends up being a snare for them. And it takes a long time for them to ever really get over. I won't say they ever get over it, because none of us truly get away from the issue of idolatry. But if anybody, I guess at least at that point, maybe learned their lesson, it was Israel. But it took a long time for them to get there. But the problem is that they were given the warning ahead of time. He said, beware, if you let them stay, they will tempt you. And then if you're serving their gods, it's going to be a snare to you. Now, a snare is not something, that's meant for good. A snare is meant to destroy, right? Even if it's not something as maybe deadly looking as what we had there, something that would cause a lot of harm. Even if it's, you think of maybe like the small little strings and a rock or something in a snare. Well, what's the point of the snare? The snare is to capture the animal that you're trying to hunt so you can kill it and eat it. Remember, Satan is like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Not that seeking whom he can catch, seeking whom he may devour. So Satan was going to come after the Israelites just the same. He was going to come after them by way of seemingly saying, well, hey, we can leave these people, and hey, it's okay to dabble in their gods or to let them have their gods. Hey, we'll just all live at peace in the name of love, in the name of harmony. We'll just let them continue to serve the way that they want to, and we'll do our own thing. But God had already told them, if you do that, there's going to be problems. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I wonder How many times God is tempted to tell us, just as with the Israelites, I told you so. How many times has he given us warnings about how we need to pray and how we need to not worry and how we need to lean on him and draw close to him and avoid sin and avoid temptation and say no to temptation, and that we need to fast and pray and worship in spirit and in truth. And as we look at all the things that he has told us just as well, and probably no better scenery than to see throughout the New Testament that Jesus, even in his ministry on earth, spoke so much more about hell than he did about heaven. The fact that heaven is a mystery, but hell is much less of a mystery. Hell and the destruction and everything about the lake of fire that is reserved for the devil and his angels and all who would turn against God, that if you think about it, he has told us exactly what will happen if we do not heed his word. That is the warning that he's given us. That is the beware. That's the big beware sign above the snare of everything Satan has to offer. And so today I would just simply ask you, and I think God would challenge us too, to look at these verses, to look at the New Testament, to study his word, to see what warnings he has given us. What warnings are we not listening to? And really, when we find ourselves kind of trapped in that snare, who got us there? I promise you, it wasn't God. It was when we chose to go there all on our own. Today, heed the warning of God. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.